Samhain, the dark half of the year. A time for rambling over the neighbour's house and telling stories by the fire. And these are usually stories about the good people and the way they might trick you. Being a man of the road, I've encountered a few of them myself in me day. The fairies, I mean. Oh, and boys, them is the right buckos. Although, they'll just leave me be. You see, we have a kind of a respect for each other. Now, have you ever a story to share with me? If I share one with you, a story for a story. Sit back there beside your fire. Agus éist.
Have you ever heard the music of the fairy piper as you walked the roads late at night? Or have you ever gone dancing on the hills of Leitrim in the dark?
If so, us children of Kilnagross might have to check if there's a fairy in you.
But first let us tell you about Kilnagross.
Kilnagross, the Wood of the Cross. It's a townland of 209 acres, and amongst those 209 acres are some of the finest Leitrim people that you ever meet. We're surrounded by soft rolling hills in the townlands of Annakinty, Annahosna, Annamadu, Annaselhurry, Corduri, and Gorchinure North, which is actually to the east.
Over the road from us stands Shimor, the fairy hill,
burial ground of the Tuatha Dana, and beside that the Hill of Mung, a small grey hill where a woods and a windmill once stood on the top of it.
There's a generation of people around here that would tell you stories of hearing the music and dancing of the fairies on the hill as they walked the roads home late at night. But they never joined them.
I'm not sure if I believe these fairy stories.
Me too, Clemmy. I believe in these stories.
Well, whether you believe in the fairies or not, they're there all the same. That's what my granny says.
I heard the music once with my granny when we were down the field. It was coming from behind a hawthorn tree. We ran away quick.
And how do we know there's not a fairy inside of you?
How would you quit?
Our grandparents always told us to respect the homes of the fairies, the hawthorn trees, and the ring forts. We're never meant to do them any harm, or misfortune will fall on you. But no warning the old generation gave, as strong as the last night of Samhain, the 30th of November, on Iha Yarnock. Be careful walking home, they say. The dead are dancing in the hills tonight, and if you join them, they'll keep you. For it was on this night, a young girl by the name of Winnie Rourke, from the windmill on Mung, was walking home from a house dance this side of Drumshambo. And as she took the last turn on the hilly road, didn't she hear them? The fairies above on Croochnasauna.
The last nights of their celebrations on the hills, before they headed back to the otherworld until Samhain returned the following year. Winnie thought it was another house dance that was still in full flight.
People dancing, cheering, and laughing. Fiddles, flutes, and a piper.
Was it the Gunning's house? Or maybe Finn's?
She hopped through a gap in the quick, and up Croochnasauna she flew. Her family found her the next morning in her bed, shoes still on, the balls of her feet worn out through the soles of them. She was alive, but she certainly wasn't herself. You see, the fairies had kept her, brought her with them to their own world, left one of their own in her place. The family knew no different, only she wasn't the girl she once was before that night. Away with the fairies, the neighbours said. Many tried to cure Winnie. Nan Lenihan made concoctions of haw, roots of dock, foxglove, and boiled worms. Red McLaughlin suspected the fairies.
P. McNulty reckoned she drank bad water. The Dandy Reynolds blamed the earwigs. Dr. O'Reilly, beyond in Mohill, diagnosed palsy. Bumford, the seventh son, tried several times, but was as well off he was the first son, for all the good that he done. No cure could be found for poor Winnie with the fairy inside in her.
Now it was around Maytime every year that a man of the road by the name of Dorley appeared about the place. He knew the families to call to, those that would offer him food or shelter or both, and those who wouldn't bother at all.
One May morning, as Winnie's father, Paddy the Mill Rourke, was crossing Sheemore, heading for Mass and Gowl, he spotted Dorley, sitting above on the cairn, whistling a tune to himself.
You have an unwelcome lodger at the mill since I was last here, says Dorley. Paddy stopped and stood, as Dorley was known to be an intelligent man, and it was wise to take heed of his words. Have you e'er a trait to share with me, and I'll share more with you, says Dorley.
Paddy gave him the old biscuit from his pocket.
Take the high road for Balnaglera, says Dorley, and at Cuckrambeog you'll find a well where the water rises like rust from the iron of Sleevin Éireann. Take it and give it to your daughter. If she refuses the water of the Iron Mountain, then the fairy is within her.
For if it's one thing the fairies hate, it's iron. But how would you run the good people out of her? Dorley continued. Well, says I to you, Paddy O'Rourke, there's only one way. Douse her in the iron water and throw her into the sweat house beyond the well. It's then you'd have your daughter back.
Sure enough, when young Winnie Rourke was brought to the well on the slopes of Sleevin Éireann, she spat at the iron water. Into the well, her father and brothers threw her. It said that the roars out of her were heard the far side of Loughan above in Áirc. Then into the steam and sweat house she was fired, where they kept her until the sun rose on her the next day.
Did the Mill Rourkes get their youngest daughter back? No, didn't work at all. I'm only having you on. Well, indeed they did. She was one of the finest dancers to ever be seen in Leitrim after that.
She brought back steps from the fairies that had never been seen before, nor will ever be seen again. It was if she could dance on air, such were the gifts that the fairies had left her. But she always carried a piece of iron in her pocket that she got from Kelleher's forge of Kilnagross to keep the fairies away, for fear they'd ever take her again.
And to this day, whispers of the magic in Winnie Rourke's feet still float about among,
And the rust still rises from the well and the Iron Mountain. But let this be a warning to you all. Take heed of the older people's words around Kilnagross. Be careful if you're out on the roads this last night of Samhain. For if ye hear the fairy piper and dare to dance on the hills with the dead, they'll be sure to keep you.